G'day, Snappers, and welcome to the Sunday Snap, coming to you through the SC Ballers feed. This is the podcast where we give our snap reactions to the NRL SuperCoach round that was. My name's Jono, coach of the Half-Spoons, and with me to talk about all the big news coming out of the final major bye round is the coach of CMac's 86ers. CMac, welcome to the Sunday Snap. How are you, mate?
Oh, wonderful, Jono. Wonderful to be here. Finally on debut on the Snap. So very, very excited. I've been pumped since I got the nod earlier in the week. So big shoes to fill, right? Filling in for Tubes is always going to be a tough ask, but hopefully I can give some good advice and we go from there.
Yeah, Tubes currently on a flight to Perth as we speak, flying over to Perth. And CMac, you were handpicked by Tubes to be his replacement this week. Matt put up the hand and Tubes went, "No, thank you. I want CMac as my Sunday Snap replacement."
How good. I think that was probably before Matt's wonderful score this week, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Oh, unbelievable. We'll definitely get to that. CMac, you and I have known each other or known each other for 30 years. Coming into that is frightening. Coming into tonight's podcast, what do you reckon the longest one-on-one conversation we've ever had is?
Probably had it in the green room. No, seriously, it's a great question. Maybe, a drunk Origin night when you guys were going to uni and living in Canberra and I was working down there occasionally.
Oh, that's a good shout.
Maybe one there, but yeah, probably the green room, to be fair, Jono.
Well, we're about to break that record live on air. CMac, how'd your team score this week? What moves did you make?
985, Jono, which, I ended up not avoiding the Pap carnage and the Billy Smith carnage. So I ended up having to play 12. So, look, 985 out of 12 players. I'm pretty happy. Look, it's not going to be green arrows, but it's not a complete disaster either.
No, not at all. I think, yeah, like you said, definitely not green arrows. You'll drop a little bit, but you'll still be well and truly in that top 500 or so. Like it doesn't seem like unless your name's Matt Ricks and you've done some of the things he's done, it doesn't feel like a huge moving week this week. I had 1,021, so I was exactly one Kane Bradley above you, basically, CMac, this week. I had 13, and Bradley was the difference. So, again, I think that's around par, maybe low end. I expect I'll see some minor red arrows, but nothing major. So, it's all looking pretty good. Just before we get into the actual show itself, we got to do a couple of plugs. And there are some big things happening at Baller at the moment, aren't there, CMac? I know we're very excited about the Run Home Challenge, which we were we at the watch along with Matt on Friday night as he was kind of launching it and giving it a big push. What do you make of this Run Home Challenge starting in round 20?
Look, I know we're both excited, but no one's as excited about the Run Home Challenge as Tubes is. Like holding trades, just preparing himself. Like I reckon on the flight, what do you think he's doing? Just looking at his trades from round 20 onwards. Absolute no doubt in my mind. So yeah, look, I'm super pumped about it. I know Tubes obviously is, and everyone I speak to is like, how good's that? You get another bite at the cherry. So well, what a wonderful thing they're doing here at Baller.
Yeah, and all people need to do, if any of our listeners haven't done it, you just got to get it to baller.live. That's BALLR.live. And as you go onto the page, if you're logged in, you will see a big yellow button saying click here to join the Run Home Challenge. 7K prizes up for grabs, including $3,000 to the winner. And it kicks off at the end of round 20, and your previous scores do not matter. So if you're having a stinker of a year, like the aforementioned Tubes, it doesn't matter. It all starts fresh for round 20 for the Run Home Challenge. It's just a super coach for a lot of people is winding down and getting into the most boring part of the year. Not anymore. Fire up and get into it. While you're there at baller.live, you've got to check out the player statistics that are now available only to those who log in. They're not there if you don't log in. So sign yourself up. It takes literally less than a minute to do and get logged in. CMac, I certainly have a favourite area of the player statistics page. Is there anything that's jumped out to you that you've been checking out?
Yeah, for me, big time, it's the base plus power. I don't think you can get it in many other spots. So it's right there for you. It's really easy to look up. They've done a great job. It's so user-friendly at the moment. And for someone like me who's not overly good with their technology, it's pretty bloody good. So, no, it's been really good. I love the base plus power stats there, right there for you.
Yeah, it's so good because, like you said, just not readily available, not on the SuperCoach app. So if you're a SuperCoach Gold subscriber, which most SuperCoach diehards are, you're handing over your hard-earned and you can't see those kind of basic statistics. And also, I love how it breaks it down to 3-round average, 5-round average compared to versus the whole year so you can see player trends. So, yeah, it's a fantastic resource. If you're a SuperCoach diehard, make sure you log on and check it out. I know it helped me, the base plus power stats, which I had to crunch the numbers for, certainly helped me when I was bringing in Big Pod Tallis Duncan, who's gone off again today. So the fact you can get out there and see that kind of thing is great. And the last one is Matt announced on Friday, Shibasaki the bet for Origin. So what they're doing at Baller is for every social media follower they have, they're going to put 50 cents for every social media follower they have. They're going to put a bet on Shibasaki to score a try, anytime try score in Origin. All proceeds are going to go to the organisation of that wonderful beanie you're sporting tonight, CMac, the Mark Hughes Foundation. It's, I can't say I'm going to be fully pumped when Shibasaki scores in Origin. What percentage pumped are you going to be, do you reckon?
It all depends on the game situation, to be honest, John. My true and honest hope is he crashes over the score in the corner. We're all jumping around. They miss the goal. New South Wales win the series, win the game 60-4. That's just the all-time result for me. So, look, I just hope he crosses the line. It'd be wonderful. It's a wonderful cause also. And if you're watching, listening, you've got to get on there. Just follow Baller wherever you can, because what a wonderful cause.
Yeah, and good point, because I said it's Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, maybe a fifth that I'm forgetting. It's on all platforms. You follow them on any one of those platforms, they add all of those up together. So you can follow them 4 times the different platforms. That's $2 right there that's going towards that. And they have said that even if he doesn't score, they're still going to make a donation. I think, CMac, my dream scenario would be that it's 50-0 New South Wales way. They've just thrown a grenade. They've done the Brian Fletcher grenade celebration for Try July. And then they get really angry, Queensland, and Shibasaki scores to make it 50-4. That's the dream scenario there.
We can only hope, Jono. We can only hope.
Well, if New South Wales lose Origin, we're both going to be filled with rage, and that ties us in perfectly to the first segment of the show. CMac, let's get a little bit angry. It's time for the rage trades.
Are you little?
Who have you got for us this week?
Look, this one's a bit of a probably sounds pretty vanilla, but Sandon Smith, he was always probably going to go after this week, given that Sam Walker's coming back, looking to upgrade at hooker finally. Origin will be over, so it's probably, you're looking at Harry Grant. But, 42 against an undermanned Tigers, that was really frustrating. So he's walking out the door with a smile on my face, and he's also taking a bit of cash with him because he's probably going to drop under the 500K mark. So yeah, a little bit disappointed and very, very happy to be moving him on now. What about you, Jono? Who's your rage trade for the week?
I'll just add on to Sandon Smith. He's also break-even's going to be up over 50 odd too, which is frustrating because it kind of means that you're going to feel forced to make a move next week. If he's back to that utility off the bench role, you don't have to, but you know that you're probably going to be going and losing even more value. So it kind of means if he had got a big score this week, you might have been able to wait a week and kind of assess what the options are. But next week now, imagine if your plan was a Harry Grant and he doesn't back up from Origin, and then you've got Sandon Smith there bleeding cash and you can't make that move yet. So could be pretty frustrating. My rage trade, CMac, I know you almost jumped on with this one with me. You almost went a double rage trade. It's Joe Tarpanay, who has scored 46 points, which on the surface you might not think sounds too bad. It was in only 29 minutes, and it was only going to be 22 minutes. It was only that the Dragons made a comeback and Ricky sent him back out with 7 minutes to go that he managed to boost that score a little bit. I'm really concerned, CMac. He was going to play 22 minutes. Just for the record, I was at this game. He wasn't hurt. It was literally just let's give Tarpany a rest because we're winning by so much. There was no injury concern. He was warming up and down the sideline, prepping to get back in. But then when they put on a couple of quick tries, he just put the jacket on, put some track pants back on and sat down and then was forced back onto the field. Do you think that maybe Ricky's just trying to nurse him through to the bye, CMac, or is there a chance that he's going to continue to be rested at every opportunity until the finals?
Look, you're potentially right there. He might just be looking after him, but you got Papali or Josh Papali'i to come back in the team, Hudson Young to come back in the team. I'm just worried about his minutes in general for the run home for the Raiders.
True.
So it's always been, we've spoken about it for years, really, Ricky Roulette with your middle forwards. So I'm in the same boat. Very happy to move him on. I've had too many big boys, and when you got Koala Matangi and Tino still hanging around, you got cover in the front row to be able to move up and down. So I think he's a real easy trade out, Joey Taps.
Yeah, a week ago I would have disagreed with you. And just as well, there's Matty Nicholson still to come back from injury too. And we know that he's a big minute man. That would potentially push Hosking back to the bench. And Hosking's a big minute man. Adam Mariota's in good form. Like Owen Paddy, sometimes he's forcing Tom Starling through the middle rotation. Like it's just there's so much going on that I actually agree with you. A week ago, he was my rage trade last week too. So it's 2 weeks in a row. But last week I was an advocate of, no, you can hold him. He's going to bang out 50s every week. He's fine to hold. he's going to have a break even in the 90s now. He's going to drop down to around 600K. Yeah, I think it's time to go, and I reckon I'll be pulling the trigger next week while they're on the bye. I think the time is right now.
Yeah, 100% with you there, Jono.
All right, well, let's get into the actual round review. Only 5 games to go over this week, CMac. Starting off with the one that we did on the watch-along on Friday night with Matt. It's the Dogs versus the Broncos, and we can only start in one place. It's Ezra Mann, who had 95 points with 3 try assists. What did you make of Ezra's performance?
Look, he's always Ezra always very reliant on attacking stats. They were there for him the other night, but he looked really sharp in that second half. That like just before I get into Ezra, what a game of 2 halves. That was so much fun, but like it got out to 18-0. Honestly, the Dogs could have put 40 on, and then they couldn't hold the ball. And Ezra came into his own and looked really sharp. His ball playing ability can't be questioned, but he is just so reliant on those attacking stats that I couldn't bring him in. But now he's got a pretty low break even, and the Broncos have caught fire. So there will be people who will bring him in to take on the highly owned guys at 5'8".
Yeah, and they're run home now. So they go Titans, Parramatta, Souths. They have a bye in round 20, worth mentioning. So they go Titans next week, then a bye, then Parramatta, Souths. They also have Newcastle and North Queensland left for the run home. So they do play Melbourne twice, but one of them is in round 27, where I dare say if Melbourne have wrapped up a top 2 spot by then, they'll rest big time. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But I could see Mam going on a run. He's a man who likes a run. I wouldn't be unhappy to own him now as my second 5'8", but I won't be bringing him in, put it that way.
No, I think that's fair.
I was really impressed by Xavier Willison, who had 77 points in base plus per in 60 minutes. I don't really think there's too much to unpack there. I think he's one of those guys who, if there's ever an injury in that pack, say a Payne Haas or a Carrigan goes down and he becomes a big minute man, I think he'd be a great pickup at a relatively cheap price. I just want to throw him out there.
Yeah,
our man Katapani, CMac, he had 56 points with a try. What do you think of Karapani's performance?
Look, he without the try, it was a bit scary, to be fair, but he got over the line. It was pointed out by Matt on numerous occasions that he didn't make 8 metres in hit-ups, which was quite frustrating. But look, no, he's going to have a fairly manageable break-even. You just touched on their run. That position at the Broncos, that left wing spot, it's prime real estate. I think he could be a season-long hold and just play him on matchups. I really do. If he jags 2 tries, you're looking at a ton more often than not.
Yeah, that Broncos left edge thing is a really good point because Jesse Arthurs, when he was out there, was one of the top try scorers of the competition. And now Karapani's gone out there and he scored, 5 tries in 3 games?
Yeah.
Or 6 in 4, whatever it is. It's a lot of tries.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point, and it's interesting. I planned on nuffing him out, but there is a chance with that run home that he could just be a play on matchups guy. So I'll have to put some thought into that. You brought in Billy Kickow this week, CMac, for his 69 points with a try. How are you feeling 1 week into being a Kickow owner?
Again, at times on Friday night, I was a little worried about it. And he has burnt me in the past, Billy Kicks. He often promises so much and delivers so little. But I'm feeling pretty good about it, I must admit. The Dogs are going to be a good side for the rest of the year. I know they've hit a bit of a hump, but they're going to be fine. I think he is central to most things they will do in attack on that edge. I'm a little bit concerned about who will be the 5'8" inside him. If it's Burton, I definitely feel more confident, given what Galvin and he dished up the other night wasn't great. But all in all, pretty happy. I think he's one of the probably 4 or 5 guys you want in that second row slot.
Yeah, it kind of felt like we got away with one a little bit because he picked up what looked to be like a neck or a shoulder injury at one point in the second half. And his base, he just stopped running the ball basically from that point onwards. So I'm glad that wasn't more serious than he played through the game. I haven't heard any information since to say that was anything serious. But your point about Galvin's a good one. If Galvin holds that left edge 5'8" role, that could impact scoring. With that being said, it was their first game together as a partnership. It's never going to be perfectly smooth in one game. We'll talk about Galvin a little bit later in the show. I still think he's a gun. I reckon he's a really good footballer. And I thought he made Sam Weller-Finau look really good at times last year running outside him. So I'm confident that even if it did stick that way, whilst I agree with you, I'd rather it be Birdo, I'm confident they'd kind of pull it together.
Yeah, that's fine.
What about Jacob Preston? He came in this week as the, I think, second most traded player, maybe dropped to third most traded player of the week in the end. He came out, busted out 45 points, no tackle buster offloads this week, down under 660K with a break even in the high 80s. if you are one of those people who brought in, I know you weren't, but if you were, would you be having buyer's remorse?
Oh, it'd be hard to say you wouldn't really, because I feel like he started the game pretty well and was well involved
Looked
and
dangerous.
and then just hit the brakes. And I didn't, apart from them not having a lot of ball, I didn't see anything that abundantly clear that made it that way. I just think he was down on his usual high work rate. So, look, a little bit of buyer's remorse. He's a gun player. I've got no doubt he'll come good. Another one. Don't go trading him out or anything. Hold him. He'll be fine for at least the next month. Reassess if you need to at the back end. But he's a quality player, and I think he'll come good, Supercoach wise as well.
Yeah, great. And he has power stats in him. He normally does get tackle, bust, and offloads. So if he was doing that this week, he gets mid-50s, and you're a little bit disappointed, but you're not concerned. So I think it's fine. The other one I just want to quickly touch on was someone who didn't play this week, CMac, is Jacob Kiraz, who's 18th man for New South Wales. We noticed on the watch-along that Montoya played on the right wing again this week. Does that lead you to believe that this Kiraz swap is permanent?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I suppose we're going to have to wait and see. Does it concern me? Slightly. Like Kiraz he's just got a huge work rate. He's a big base plus power player. I'm not too concerned about what side of the field he plays on because he's going to go looking for the football wherever he's playing. So, look, I don't think it's a huge worry, but I'll be interested to see where he ends up for sure.
All right, on to the next game, the Raiders versus the Dragons, which the Raiders just snuck away with after they let the Dragons back in. But easily the biggest talking point of the round was KO Weeks, who had 156 with 3 tries and assist. He absolutely exploded in this game, Weeks. What about that try where he kind of had to do a shimmy on the referee, sidestep the ref, and still managed to score? What a freak.
Oh, absolute athlete. Like, just so much speed to burn. What a wonderful watch. I'm gonna give myself a bit of a nod here. I put him into one of my mates this week who's coming about 3,500. I said, mate, you've got no 5'8". Chuck him in there. He was chuffed. So I'm not smart enough to bring him in for myself, but it was really, really good to watch. He is just a freak athlete. That was wonderful. Could you bring him in? What do we got? 8 rounds left, and they're going to miss 2 with the buys. He does have low games. It would be scary. It would be a scary own, but geez, it'd be a fun one if he has nights like the other night.
At least your mate actually brought him in. I'm thinking about bringing in a new weekly segment on the Snap called the Woodworks Award.
Yeah, so good.
People come out of the woodworks who are very, very close to just about to buy this guy. It happened a couple of weeks ago with someone, and I was noticing a lot of online chatter about I was so close to bringing in KO Weeks this week. Didn't hear him that well discussed by many people going into the round. But
no, not at all.
I'm with you. I don't think I could bring him in. He's going to be 570K, huge negative break even. Obviously, the buy next week, so you've got a week to think about it. But it's not for me because I'm still pretty confident that he'll have some low weeks. He'll have a sub 20 in him again this year.
Definitely.
He'll have some big ones. I think it's maybe the 5th time he's scored 100 plus for the year now. So he can go big, but when he goes small, it would be very, very frustrating. A few of the less relevant Raiders scored quite well this week. Matty Timoko had 82 points without a try or a try assist, over 60 points in base plus power. Morgan Smithy scored a 67 and crossed for his first ever career try. Jamal Fogarty, 70 points with 2 assists. Do you think any of those lesser owned Raiders players are worth chatting about, CMac?
No, not particularly. I do like Tomoko's work, but no, I don't think anyone's relevant there, especially with them having 2 buys to come.
Yeah, I reckon I think about bringing Timoko about 3 times a year.
Yeah,
never actually.
Yeah, no, same boat. He just looks so easy on the eye, tackle busting all over the place, but no, not for me.
I do, like being a Canberran, I do watch the Raiders a bit, and there definitely have been times here where Timoko looks like he's been playing a little bit hurt. I've got to say, he looked very injury-free the other night. Like he was going and looking for a ton of work. So maybe his body's going well, maybe he could go on a run, but it's not for me. Zach Hosking, who is one of the most owned Raiders, I think he's their 2nd most owned player behind Joey Taps. He might even be their most highly owned player for the Raiders, Hosking. He had 67 points in base plus power. You've got to be pretty happy with that for this kind of a bye week score. No major attacking stats. He's now going to be up over 570K. Do you think now, CMac, it's okay to trade him as of next week, or do you think he's valuable to hold as a number for the rest of the year?
I think there's better options, Jono. I think we touched on it when we spoke about Taps. There's a number of players in that pack fighting for minutes, and Matty Nicholson to come back as well. I think it's a good time to move him on. And there are other options in the second row. If you don't have one of those out and out superstars, I think at his price, you can probably make it work because most people have got a bit of money in the bank at the minute. So, yeah, I'd be comfortable to move him on.
Yeah, agreed. The horse had 58 points in 55 minutes. His minutes staying pretty consistent again, the horse. And Tommy Starling, a 36 in 68 minutes, pretty disappointing for people who own him. He's now going to drop 15K, get himself down to around 530 odd with a break even up and around 90. How would you be feeling? I know there's a lot of people. I know Danny Boy and Matt of Baller are both holding him and planning on holding him, I believe, as their second hooker for the run home. To me, I just reckon that money could be better served elsewhere. I don't see when you're going to play Tommy Starling. So, what do you think?
No, I totally agree. I don't know when you'd be playing him. I don't know how he fits in your 18 this year, especially if you've got gun hooker, if there is one. But essentially, everyone's going to want Harry Grant probably for the run home. With the plethora of good options you have in other spots this year, I don't see how he'd ever make your 18. So I totally agree with you. I don't think it's worth having him. I'd nuff out it as my second hooker for sure.
Yeah, or even bringing a second row. I'm sure a lot of people have that Kalami going in their team already as enough second row forward. Bring him up to hooker and then bring in another second row, potentially even a Connor Watson, who's actually at a pretty similar price.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a great move.
Jed Stewart was pretty popular this week. He was brought in by 11% of the top 10%. He busted out 38 with a line break. It was certainly his worst game of first grade so far. He had a key error that led to a try. He also let a bomb bounce at one point, didn't quite go in for the ball. CMac, I don't know if you saw this, but Ricky Stewart in the post-game presser kind of came out and defended Cole Flanagan and kind of said about how the media are crucifying him for being the coach's son. There's a little part of my brain going, are you saying this because your son's on the team, Ricky, and you're just kind of putting out this narrative in case people start to come after Jed?
I think Ricky's smarter than everyone, and that's exactly what he's done. He's got on the front foot there just to protect Jed. I actually agreed with what he was saying, that whole situation about the Flanagan thing. I thought it was well done from an opposition coach. But no, I think you might be right. I think he's just thrown that one out there to protect Jed. Look, a lot of people would have bought him in. You're not going to play him ever. I'd prefer enough to Jed Stewart just in case you are having to use an AE in the run home. So not for me, and I can't imagine anyone bringing him in now.
No way. You absolutely couldn't. And I think you'd almost be a little bit regretful if you had. Like, he's going to make 40K. If he goes next week without scoring again, his price rises are pretty much going to plateau out. So he's not going to make too much more money, unfortunately. From the Dragon side of things, not heaps to talk about. Sloan had a 93 with a double. Should have had a 30 except for an outrageous decision from the referees for his first try, I thought. It was like pretty clearly backwards. LKT had 18 points. He's 40% owned in this top 10%. A lot of people are relying on him as a number this week because of Billy Smith and Pappy going down. People were probably forced to bring LKT into their 13. How disappointing on a week like this where he had been going well to come out and bust out 18 points.
Yeah, that was the week. That was the week everyone needed him to do something. And unfortunately, his number was dialed and he didn't pick up.
No, very, very disappointing. Absolutely sucks. And he's going to have a break even now up in the 50s. So I think next week, if you can trade him out to someone like a Jaden Campbell, who's at a really nice price, I think it's a good week to do that, I would say. On to the next game, which is the Cowboys versus the Storm. And we mentioned at the top of the show that Matt's had a huge week, and we said we were going to unpack the reasons why. One of them is Nick Meaney, who had 165 points, 2 tries, 20 points in conversions. He's in 0.7% of the top 10% of teams. What a trade from Matty.
Unbelievable. Well done. Well done, head honcho. That's one of the best all year. Given the Pap news, the fact that he went to fullback with other players in the team who could have done as well, but Matt's absolutely jagged it there. He's done really well, and he played so well. He was everywhere. Well done. Well done, Matt, and well done to anyone else who brought Nick Meaney in because what a play. And like long term, if Paps is out, what a player he could be as well. He's going to be, goal kicking for the best team in the comp for the run home. So, and even if Paps comes back, it sounds like it's a lower leg injury of some sorts. will he get the goal kicking back? So, no, I think Meaney was a great pickup this week for Matt. So well done, Matt.
Yeah, I thought it was terrible when he told us in the group chat he was going to do it. I was completely against it, and I couldn't have been more wrong. What a smart move it's worked out to be. And like you said, that goal kicking could mean that you could hold Meaney as a just a number in your team who's going to be reliable. You can plug in and play. No bias left for the Storm, and he could get if he holds it, he could get 30 points in goal kicking on any given week and just get a good score. And yeah, if he does hold that role long term, average 68 as a goal kicking fullback in 2023. And it actually reminded me, CMac, you said about how good he looked in the game. It actually kind of reminded me, I was like, Meaney is a good fullback. Like, I remember that 2023 year, he looked really impressive. Storm went well with him as their fullback. It actually made me remember how good he actually was. So, yeah, well done. I think if he gets that spot long term, if some news comes out of it, the Pappy's gone for 6 weeks or something, people will be jumping onto Meaney in centre wing in their droves.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And it'd be a great move.
It would be. On to some other Storm players. Eli Katoa, 68 points with a try off a kick. I will say, he actually came across to the left edge to contest that kick. Like, they are putting in attacking kicks for Eli Katoa near the line, and he's leaping over fullbacks and finishing them off. He's just such a gun.
Oh, it's amazing. Like that in itself is really, really cool. Great coaching, great football, but like just to be able to go, and it doesn't happen very often in the game these days where someone will just go, no, I'm going over the other side of the field because we're a chance of scoring if I compete for that kick. Like, really, really good. Look, outside of that, probably wasn't his best super coach game. But yeah, what an athlete. He's just such an easy lock and load hold in that second row spot for the rest of the year. He's going to be a great own. You're going to enjoy most weeks with ECAT. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, and he's creeping up. I think other than Terrell May, he's now the most owned player in the top 10%. He's up to 96% now in the top 10%.
Wow.
And every week it just goes up a little bit more, and you can understand exactly why. It's because he's an Eli Katoa. He's an absolute gun. Love watching him play. Jerome Hughes was also in the top 5 most purchased players of the week. 15% purchased in the top 10%. And of the top 10%, 32% ended up with the VC on him after Ryan Pappenhausen went down. I was one of them. Look, not a disaster score, but I was hoping for more than 58 points this week.
Yeah, totally agree. I was on him VC before Pap because I hoped he'd be a bit of a pod VC. Obviously, a lot jumped in, as you say. But look, I think you summed it up really well. Like definitely underwhelmed, but 58 is nowhere near a disaster.
No. It's just hard, though, because if he doesn't get an assist without goal kicking, he's not necessarily like a Nathan Cleary type who racks up base stats as a halfback. He's going to have those down weeks in him, and that's where I know I'm in a position where I'm going to have to make a decision soon between Hughes versus Hines. And that kind of game are the ones that make me go, maybe Hines with that goal kicking is worth holding on to over Hughes. I think it's a really tough call, which I know, CMac, you're talking about dodging having to make that decision by keeping both, bringing Cleary into the flex.
Yeah, especially if Pap goes down for an extended period of time, that's probably the move I'll make because I just don't know how to split that one. Because when Jerome Hughes is on fire, his running game's phenomenal. He scores a lot of tries for a halfback. Yeah, it's such a hard decision to make. So if I can swerve it and Pap's out, it's not the worst result.
Yeah, I don't mind the swerve. And Kane Bradley's the last kind of really relevant guy out of the Storm. He had 38 points with a line break, so not the basiest game out of Kane Bradley. He was purchased by a lot, 26% of the top 10% this week. I think he did his job. It's 38 points I wouldn't have got without him. I'm hoping he plays next week, although I'm a little bit nervous because I know Moses Leo returned through New South Wales Cup, but I reckon I'm going to need Kane Bradley's number for next week, so we'll see how that all pans out.
Yeah, fingers crossed for those who brought him. He gets that game and then he disappears again for the rest of the year and it's done its job.
Yeah, perfect. And the Cowboys' perspective, talking about doing a job, Drinky. It's his second big score in back-to-back weeks now that the halves have returned to what they were when he was killing it. It's back to Cliff at the halfback. Din wasn't there this week, but it didn't matter. And Drinky, 99 points with a try and 2 assists.
Looks so good, Drinky. Last 2 weeks, he's just looked free, like completely free, getting the ball again in that third receiver out the back for the sweep. I don't know what the coach was thinking, putting and changing that up. He's just really hurt a lot of super coaches there for a while. But anyway, sanity prevails. He's back. Drinky's flying again. And no one's thinking about selling him like they were about 3 weeks ago.
He's seriously just like doesn't like Clifford. Like, he's trying to get him out of the team at any opportunity.
He does such a sound job for mine when I'm watching Clifford play. I think he's got a good kicking game. He gets him around the park well. Unless there's something we're not seeing in training, but yeah, I'm a fan, and Drinky should be. So yeah, keep him there.
Yeah, and I think he's 83%. A few people sold him, and he's now, to my mind, he's one I was planning on trading out after this buy period. Yeah. No way am I trading him out anymore. He's in my team for the rest of the year.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
All right, CMac, let's get on to the most controversial segment of the show. It's time to see who is ready to explode. What are you thinking, CMac? You feel nervous about this? This is the most, if anyone criticises the snap, it's for this segment.
Yeah, big time. Very, very. That was like, I was really excited when I got told I was doing the snap. Then it went to dread because I had to get my ready to explode right. Not just get the player right, but just get the theme of it right, because there's been some conjecture about that all year. So I was really, really worried about this. And, I delved through and had a good hard look. And, bye weeks are pretty tough weeks to pick some players out as well. But I've landed on Shawn Blore. Shawn Blore, the back rower for the Melbourne Storm, I think all year has been really, really good footy-wise. He punched out a 97 against the Cowboys. Excuse me. Punched out 97 against the Cowboys on the weekend. He's playing in the best team in the comp. He's playing on the left edge outside of Munster. I like their draw for the next month. I think he's not a bad pod to take on those higher owned guys. And I think Shawn Blore is ready to explode.
I like it as a footy player. I don't think he's going to be coming onto my radar from a Supercoach perspective. In all seriousness, if Eli Katoa got hurt and they started using Shawn Blore as more of a weapon out there, I could see it then, because he's playing some seriously good football. Like, he's a gun for the Storm, so consistent. I just can't see him getting these consistent attacking stats from a Supercoach perspective to become relevant. But I reckon you've done pretty well in what's a tough week for.
Thanks, Jono. Pass mark, you reckon?
Definitely a pass mark. I'm not going to be the one giving you any criticism for this, other than the one I just did live on the show. But it's better than when Matt was on and he picked a ready to explode player who didn't play on the weekend. So you've already 1-0 over him. Easy. My ready to explode player, which I think I had the benefit of getting in first on this one, because I reckon you would have taken a good look at him too. But it's Jackson Purdue, who on the weekend had 57 with a try. He was actually sold by nearly 3,000 super coaches this week. I didn't understand why. He's now going to be available at around 440K, which is very, very cheap. His break-even settling, it's in the 50s. I just really like what I saw him on the weekend against the Storm, who are a good team. I know they had some players out, but that Cowboys attack is starting to open up. And his ability to finish a try, like, he's lightning quick, deceptively quick when he gets going, Jackson Purdue. And I think he's going to have some huge games. Dual position, I don't see any problem with bringing him as his second 5'8". I'd be happy playing him pretty comfortably this week. I know he had an 18 last week. I think that's an outlier score, and I reckon he's an absolute freak player.
No, I like it, Jono. That try he scored, didn't he show a clean pair of heels? Like, can find the try line. He is going to be a superstar. And yeah, there's a world where he could be in your 18 as a centre winger or a second 5'8". So I like it, Jono. Nice one.
All right, on to today's games. The first one was the Roosters versus the Tigers, and the Tigers somehow got away with this one. I couldn't believe it. They're actually pretty up for it. Like, Roosters weren't at their best, but Tigers played a cracking game of footy, so credit to them. But not that much relevance from a Supercoach perspective out of the Tigers. Obviously, Terrell May, what a weapon. 94 points, all in base plus power.
Overlooked as captain this week because of Teddy. And, like, some of us are narrative guys, like him against the Roosters. Like, I don't know how I missed it. All week I should have been thinking about that. And he's punched out a 94 before updates. Terrell May is one of these guys who usually gets a few more. So that could end up well over 100. He has just been an absolute beast in Supercoach this year. So, yeah, everyone owns him and just enjoy it.
Yeah, he's just such a good player. I'd love to see him running out for New South Wales this week, CMac, because but yeah, you're right. He will update well because he had 4 offloads as well. So he's by the time people are listening to this pod, he's probably going to be up over 100. He's just a really good player. I can't believe I didn't think of the narrative aspect. I mean, even if I had there was no way I would have captained him over Teddy. But
no, I agree. But it didn't even enter my mind till after the game. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Anyway.
I thought Adam Dewey had a strong NRL game in it with 56 points, 28 in goals. Maybe him and Benji should have a dust-up every week because he really performed well, Dewey. He guided them around almost like their halfback.
No, I thought last game he came into the halves in the back end of the game and looked really strong. I think that might be his best position, Dewey. Not just for him, but also for the Tigers moving forward. And then gets Jerome Luai back to halfback. But we'll see how that plays out. I really liked it. Couldn't be bringing Dewey in, but yeah, he played really well. I agree. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about it.
Yeah. Well, one of you did bring in was Marky Mark, who exploded with 107. I'm not an owner, and that was a really tough watch. How good does it feel to be an owner of Marky Mark?
Look, it's been a pretty tough week, but that was so cool. He is just an unbelievable athlete. The try he scored before halftime, he left a trail of bodies, and he only got the ball like 8 meters out. The next one, he's just a freak athlete. So he is going to be a great fun watch, a great own for the run home. And back on the wing when they're back to full strength, I'm really going to enjoy. But yeah, if he's going to be up there, so what we're looking at around 700 price wise, Jono, is that where we're going to land?
690 odd K with a negative break even.
Well, I think if you're gonna pull the trigger, I think it's got to be this week. Outside of that, I think he's gone. But yeah, he is going to be a great one for the run home. I'm not sure if he's in your top 4 centre wingers, but he's probably that 5th, which you'll play most weeks.
And Roosters do have that flat track bully about him. I mean, although this week they just lost to the Tigers, but they still put on 28 points.
Yeah,
I think one of the most impressive things about his game was that first try you mentioned, CMac. No one even got a try assist because it wasn't like he was put into space.
Yeah.
He wasn't put into an advantageous position. He got the ball almost flat-footed off Teddy and just beat 3 guys and scored. And then for his second try, it was literally just a case of, all right, we have nothing in attack right now. Early ball, and let's just see what he could do. And he delivered. He's just, it's going to be a tough. I'm not going to own him. I'm going to pick up Lomax over him next week. Lomax is cheaper than Marky Mark now. And I think that makes him a better purchase because he's a goal-kicking player. His base is so strong.
Completely fair.
Yeah. But it's going to be a tough watch for the rest of the year because Marky Mark's going to have a few more of these games in him, I think, before the year's done and dusted.
Definitely.
What about Naf White? 77 points, all base plus power in 74 minutes. Do you think there's any value still in him?
It's a hard one. I just don't know what the rotation's going to look like. So we got Radley coming back next game. And
expected.
So obviously, Crichton comes back, Spencer Leniu comes back. I know he's played pretty good minutes throughout the whole season, but they've had a lot of games where someone's been had a HIA, so it's probably touch inflated what his minutes have been. But today he looked great, like base plus power, all there. Played nearly 80 minutes. If I couldn't bring him in, but if you owned him, I think he's a comfortable hold for a little while. Just see how it plays out.
And he's got that duel, which, as we say in Baller, the duel is handy.
Very handy.
But no, I thought he had an awesome footy game today. James Tedesco, maybe you could look at. I mean, it's funny with Teddy. He had 77, a late junk try. I'm going to look at that and say it was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, that's just the standard of Teddy, though, right? Like, I was expecting 120 plus. And I don't think that's unreasonable given what we've seen, right? But, probably a little underpar or a little underwhelming for Teddy. But, look, he's not going anywhere. He's going to be a captain option most weeks, no matter who they're playing against. It was a little bit disappointing this week, but we move on, dust ourselves off, and think about putting the captaincy on him next week.
Yeah, and that nice warm blanket wasn't feeling so warm for most of that game. Like, we needed that junk try. Absolutely needed it.
Big time.
He delivered. I like the debut of this Rowdy Rodwell. Roddy. I thought he looked really impressive, Rodwell. 63 points with a try assist. He was busting tackles, doing a lot of work coming off the line. I don't think he's going to be a factor in their team. Only 3% of SuperCoaches brought him in this week, so obviously not highly looked at. I think he's going to be the perfect one and done enough. Unless there's significant injuries, I don't think he's going to have a consistent spot in that team. And he got a great score.
No, I think you're right, and it's very, very close to scoring earlier on as well. So it's almost a case of what could have been as well. Look, moving forward, he could be a potential little black booker for 2026.
Yeah, true. And look, even if there were a couple of injuries this year, with the way the kind of footy player he is, I don't think he'd be shattered by. Like, if he's going to be your 7th centre wing, if they got a couple of injuries, like, for example, if Kane Bradley was playing consistent footy for the Storm, I'd be a little bit worried about him as an AE problem. But I don't really get that vibe from Rodwell.
No, he did look good, so I'd agree with that. So yeah, if it ends up that way, it's not the worst.
All right, final game of the round was the Sea Eagles absolutely pumping the Rabbitohs. Actually, it was an 18-point deficit to the Rabbitohs, and I think that flattered them a little bit, to be honest. But Ruben Garrick was the top try scorer to this one. Let's go back to Nat Watch, because he had the VC on Teddy, elected not to loop, and then it's come through with Garrick, who had this huge 126. CMac, we were saying in the green room, how good's he look on the wing?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. He is a great winger. He's a really good winger, not just Supercoach wise, rugby league wise. I probably wouldn't look out of place at higher levels. His work coming out of trouble. He's a great finisher, and anyone who's an attacking player outside or in the same team as Tommy Travojevic when he looks free, it's a good spot to be. So no, Ruben was on fire today. Great job, Matt. Absolutely flying. Here at Baller, we're hoping he sneaks in the top 10. So fingers crossed after another good move, Matty.
You mentioned Tommy Turbo there. Like him, he's playing right centre, Tommy. He had 118 points this week, so I better not skip that one. But he's playing this role where he's playing right centre, but then sweeps out the left and stacks that left edge. It looks so scary every time he does it. And I think Garrick's going to continue to be the recipient of a few tries from that exact play.
No, 100%. He looked free today. It's the first time all year I feel like he's looked free. That second try he scored, where he sort of come back against the grain and beat a few. It's the freest he's looked, and it was great to see, because I think we've spoken about it all year on different pods that it's sad almost to see someone as good as him, and it's frustrating just to see him the way he has been. But today it sort of made you smile. Go, yes, Turbo's back. So look. I don't think people can. Well, they can bring him in, because if he looks that free, he can take on anyone. But fullback stacked. But look, I'll probably be on Turbo watch for the next 3 weeks after the bye, just to see how he's going, because they got a couple of tough fixtures. He could be a potential bring in after that.
Oh, I can't go back down that path.
I love Turbo. I just love Turbo. I know he burns me every second year, but I just love Turbo. Like, you watch him like that, it's just, I don't know. Does something for me, Jono.
Look, if they've got the bye next week. The Manly kind of CEO came out and said that this Lee Hyatt fullback, Tommy Centre thing's not their long-term plan. But maybe they will make it that way now because of how good not how good. They've got 2 wins in a row with the way they're stacking Tommy at left. Maybe they will keep it long-term now. I don't know, but if he was named back at fullback at 560K, I guarantee you people are going to start having conversations about bringing in Tommy again.
Of course they will.
I'm not doing it. I just, for the record, it doesn't matter what happens. I've been burnt. You say you get burnt every second year. I've been burnt twice this year by Tommy. I cannot do it again this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm not making any promises.
We spoke about Lehigh there. He had 61 points with 2 line assists. If he does keep the fullback role, how do you feel that Tommy Turbo sweeping play impacts his output?
I think it definitely impacts it, because that would usually be the fullback's role, right? So, but you're not going to stop Tommy doing that, because he's probably better at it. But look, it's not great, but he's still scoring very well when they're playing well. So look, if you own Lehigh, I think he's fine for the moment. I don't think he's a run home centre wing or fullback. I just think there's better options now. At his price, you can probably move him sideways to some of these other guns. What's he now? Up over 620. So I think moving him to a Lomax, if you've got him in the centre wing, there's not too much there to make that work.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tubes on the Tuesday show said that he thought that if Lehigh played fullback, that made him a must-have in his centre wing. I actually didn't think it was a terrible call at the time, but now watching this weekend, I'd hold if I own him. I certainly won't be looking at buying him, because I do think that Tommy role of sweeping left, like you said, it's going to take away from what are normally consistent fullback points, sweeping at the left edge. So it'd be enough for me to not bring him in. Onto the Rabbitohs side of things, AJ Alex Johnson at 113, no tries for a change. Do you reckon it might be his first ever career 100 with no tries?
I think
2 assists.
I think that's probably locked in. That'll be his first career 100 without a try. Good. Looked great. Every game I'm watching, I'm just hoping he gets over the stripe, because I'm really looking forward to him breaking that record and hoping it happens this year. But no, he looked great. Potential option, but low ownership, so you would be taking on the masses if you did bring him in, but just too reliant on attacking stats, AJ. Just doesn't have that base coming out of trouble that others do. The next guy we got on the run sheet here, sorry, John, I'm going to jump in because you've got to blow your own trumpet on this one. Tallis Duncan, 105, scored 2 tries in about 3 minutes. What were you doing at that point?
Mate, I was cooking fried rice in the kitchen and almost spilling it everywhere as he scored. That first try, I was like, all right, fine, he's back. The second try, it was a party in the kitchen. I was so pumped because he was playing centre this week. Like you and Aiken are laid out with Origin players and injuries. Tallis Duncan played in the centres, which I was just like, that's a disaster for his output. He was on 25 points after 58 minutes before he scored his first try. He's ended up with 105. CMac, he's now had 300-plus scores in 4 weeks.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
He's going to be over 700K with a negative break even. CMac, I'm at that point now. I brought him in as a 3-week play because I was going to have to play him 2 times. He's delivered now 3 weeks in a row. Should the 3% of his owners start looking at him as a run-home player? I know we can't expect doubles every week, but CMac coming into this week, his 5-round average in base plus power, courtesy of baller.live, was up over 61. So he's averaging over 61 in the back row now, just in base plus power. That's without any attacking stats. He is a good line runner. He hits a hole nice. Do you think there's any merit in maybe trying to actually keep him now for the run home as a pod play?
Well, it's a decision you now don't have to make for a couple of weeks.
True.
Because, it's something, I like to say it every now and then, but Tallis Duncan's going to the moon. Like, his price is boom. He's gone. So, as an owner, you are just holding for a couple of weeks. If you potentially could get another 100K, and then you go, okay, I've got a decision to make. But, mate, that's for down the road. Kick the can down the road. Hold on for the next couple of weeks and just see where it lands. But, no, well done, Jono. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's worked out nice. It's nice when they come off. Pods don't always come off, so it's good when they do.
Sure is.
The last Rabbitoh that I thought was relevant to talk about was Keon Kaloa-Matangi. He had 66 points this week, but the main thing I took away from the game was he was back to 80 minutes, which was really good because last week he only played 60. I thought he looked really, really tired last week, almost like it had all been too much. And I thought, oh no, there's a chance he's going to be only playing 60 minutes moving forward. Good to see him play 80.
Yeah, I wonder if pre-game he got a phone call from Laurie last week and it might have just deflated him a touch because he did look down. He did look a bit down. Looked a lot better this week. He's going to be a season-long hold. He's going to be fantastic to own, as he is dual, and that's pretty handy. So I've heard. Great. Everyone owns and should. Well, not everyone. 91%, I believe. So if you don't, find a way to get him in. But he's just going to be an easy hold.
Yeah. All right, on to our final segment of the show now. It's the Little Black Book. CMac, who have you got jotted down for us?
Yeah, look, I tried so hard, Jono. I broke one of the commandments. I've done one on a player who didn't play this week. I scoured. I did all I could to try and find someone to put in the Little Black Book, but there wasn't anyone there for this year. So what I've done is I've actually sort of thrown in a bit of a double. So I've got Tanner Boyd or Tamare Martin as my Little Black Book. Whoever of those two wins that starting role of the Warriors halves. Look, I think the Warriors have got a really strong run home. They've been ultra consistent all year. That Metcalf injury, whoever they bring in, he's not an overly dominant half Metcalf. So I think someone can come in as a role player and really play that role well, go for the run home. Look, it would be a pod play at a cheaper price to take on the halves, but I think Tanner Boyd, Tamare Martin could definitely take that slot. Also, Tanner Boyd will probably kick goals if he comes into the side. So I think he especially if he gets the nod, he's a very decent option. One I've got as a Little Black Booker.
CMac, I'm going to vouch for you on 2 things here. Number one, you did scour.
Oh, didn't we?
we did probably 20 minutes of prep pre-pod. I reckon 15 of them were spent with you looking for a Little Black Book. And some of the names getting thrown up, it got to the point where you just went, just pick someone who's not playing because it's horrible out there. So I'll vouch for you on that. I'm also going to vouch for you on the call. I like it. And I like them both for different reasons. Tamare Martin, TMM, he's a high upside guy. Like when he was playing halfback for the Wars last year, his scoring was tremendous. Like he's a lively, very super coach friendly style of player. Tanner Boyd's game is more traditional halfback style, maybe not as SuperCoach friendly, but like you mentioned, he's going to have that goal kicking. He's also down around 320k. They're both dual, and the dual is handy. So I really like it. I think the Wars are going to be scoring lots of tries. And if Tanner Boyd, who is less SuperCoach friendly traditionally, just from goals, he'll make himself relevant. So I think it's a good call and definitely one worth putting on the radar for people this week, especially people who have LKT, want to get rid of him and don't have the cash to go up to a keeper level player. I think they're both going to be really good options to bring in.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Good shout. Another one who I think would be a good LKT replacement is my little black book player this week. It's Lockie Galvin. Now, I'm going to caveat this at the start and saying the reason he's a little black book and not a ready to explode is because we don't know if he's going to keep that 5'8" role. There is every chance that next week when Stephen Crichton comes back, Galvin pushes back to the bench with Birdo into 5'8". So I'm saying that if Galvin keeps the role, I think he's an absolute steal at his price of 448k. He's only in 3% of the top 10%. We saw last year in the first part of this year how good he is as a SuperCoach player. He's so ball dominant. He's constantly busting tackles. He seems to jag attacking stats every week. I actually thought on the weekend, I'm sure Dogs fans would agree with me, I thought he had a really poor NRL game. I thought he was one of their worst. And he still scored 53 SuperCoach points. So I just think if he holds that role at that price of just under 450k, I think he would be a great value pickup to take on some of these bigger names at that 5'8" position as his second.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it, Jono, especially like you say, you've mentioned those who have LKT. If he holds that role, Galvin, I really do like it. His game is very SuperCoach friendly. You touched on all those things. I don't mind it at all if he gets the role. Not bad.
Not bad. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That pretty much brings our round review to a close, CMac. Just a couple of things. Just got to remind people again of that Shibasaki bet. If you are a Sunday Snap listener, a fan of all the content that Baller are putting out, make sure you are getting on and following Baller on every social media app that you have. Get in there, make them give more money to charity. It's not our money, CMac. It's coming from the head honcho. So we just want to see that as high as possible and get more charity for the Mark Hughes Foundation.
No, fantastic. That's a fantastic idea. And just the whole Shibasaki, the young GI, how good's it been? So just get involved, follow Baller wherever you can, and let's boost it up and get as much cash on him as we can. And hopefully he crosses the stripe because it's going to a very worthy cause either way if he does.
Absolutely. And another reminder about the Run Home Challenge. For those people who haven't joined yet, make sure you do. You got until round 20, 7K up for grabs. It's just a great way to make that final end of the year SuperCoach really interesting. Whether you're a head-to-head player, an overall player, because even if you are a head-to-head player, you might be wrapping up. Your season might not be going well. You might be dropping out of your finals. This is still a way to keep your interest up and to try and win some money at the back end of the year.
Again, the Tubes Run Home Challenge. What a great idea.
If he wins this year,
I think it should be called the Tubes Run Home Challenge anyway. The head honchos at Baller, listen in. Surely, read the room. It's the Tubes Run Home Challenge.
With all this Tubes hype around the Run Home Challenge, G's just going to be funny when he comes last.
You'd expect nothing else, though, surely.
And also, just a reminder, Tuesday show will come out this week. I know also on Origin Week, they do a bumper Q&A pod on Thursday as well to kind of wrap up all the post-Origin news and see if there's any early word around who's going to back up from Origin. So, as always, make sure you subscribe to whatever you listen to podcasts through. Get yourself downloading those episodes because there's going to be a lot to discuss as we head into the back end. CMac, how did you enjoy your first snap?
I had an absolute ball, Jono. That was great. Like I said, big shoes to fill with Tubes not being here and being on the plane on the way to Perth. But I had a ball. Really, really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, you're welcome back anytime. You got anything else to take us home?
Your beauty.